Good evening. Welcome to the February 15th, 2021 Merrimack School Board meeting. Board members Andy Schneider and Jenna Hardy will participate via conference call. The meeting proceedings will follow RSA 91-A:2, which states that all parties must contemporaneously be able to hear and speak to each other. The meeting should be audible to the public. All persons present must be identified, and all votes must be taken by roll call vote. Board member Schneider, why is your attendance not reasonably practical?
Because of a medical requirement.
Where are you located?
In my home on Woodward Road in Merrimack.
Are you in the presence of anyone?
Nope, I'm by myself with a headphone on.
Thank you. Board member Hardy, why is your attendance not reasonably practical?
Because I am required to quarantine after being a close contact to someone with COVID-19.
Where are you located?
I am in my home at 59 Peasley Road in Merrimack.
And are you in the presence of anyone?
I am not. I have earbuds in as well.
Okay, thank you. Can you hear me?
Can, yes.
Yes, yes.
All right. Okay, first item on the agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance. Please join me and rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag
To the flag
of the United States of America,
America,
and to the republic
and to the republic which
one
stands
nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice
liberty
for
and
all.
justice for all.
Before we start the public participation, I do have some opening comments as it relates to public participation. Even though we are back here in person in the Matthew Thornton room for our school board meetings, we understand that many community members may not feel comfortable coming here in person. Therefore, we will allow public comments to continue to be sent in an email for the foreseeable future. To do this, you may send an email to publiccomments@sau26.org. Again, that email address is publiccomments@sau26.org. We do require your name and address for the record on such documentation. Based on the amount of information that we received tonight, our goal is always to read off verbatim the comments as we receive them. If the comments become too heavy in volume, we would just have to not read public comments into testimony. It's really an all or nothing proposition. Regardless, we will put all public comments in our minutes for tonight's meeting, but we would not be able to read them tonight if we can't read all of them. Up until just recently, that had never happened, and it's only happened once. I'd just like to be sure to address it up front in case we find ourselves in that situation. Vice Chair Barnes, do we have any public comments?
We do have one that was received on February 12th. And it is from Lisa Weatherby at 1 Longa Road. And sorry, I have to scroll up. Hello, I have been meaning to write for some time again. The decision by the school board to not bring the kids back into school full-time for another month or possibly more is very disappointing. These children need to be in school full-time. My son, who struggles with his learning disability and ADHD and who is on an IEP, deserves to be in school. I have seen other towns and school districts have all of their students who are on 504 plans and IEPs in school full-time. We are doing a huge disservice to our children. Some of these towns include Windham and Londonderry. These are towns that are just as big as Merrimack. My son has had a very hard time with Zoom calls. I'm thankful that he is finally back in hybrid after an entire month of being out for COVID exposure. However, this is now almost a year of having remote and hybrid. This is an entire year of my son having school for only 2 days a week. The independent practice days are hardly school. My son's team has done a good job of keeping him up by doing remote Zoom calls and the extra 2 hours on Friday mornings. I'm concerned that this is really not enough, though. As a parent, I need to be heard on this, especially since we do not get any school/parent surveys. This is another disservice that the school district and/or school board has opted to not do. Please, as a Merrimack taxpayer, working full-time mother, and parent of a special needs child, listen to the concerns of our parents and children. Send out surveys, get true feedback from your town. Lisa Weatherby, 1 Longa Road. Yeah, sorry. I said there was one, sorry. There was one.
Okay, thank you. There are 2 district employees in the audience, and there are no public. So we will move on to the next item, which is the reconsideration of the deliberative session date. So when Lynn Christensen, our town, the system of care, sorry. We got, thank you. The next item is update on system of care supports for students and staff. Fern Seiden and Melissa Gay. Welcome. John?
Thank you. As they come to the table and get themselves situated, I just wanted to take this opportunity to welcome our partners here to the board, and and I call them partners because there's not a day that doesn't go by that I don't communicate with both Melissa and Fern over our system and care and our well-being of our staff and students in our district. And I just think that the two of them have just really been a support to Mark, myself, and Matt in central office, all of our educators, and everyone in the district, really, and just deserve a lot of praise for the work they've done this year. And tonight they'll begin with a little overview of where we've come with our social emotional work we've done within the district, and also some new efforts about how we are going to support not only our students but our staff as well. So thank you and welcome.
Thank you, John, and good evening. Thank you for having us here tonight. Can you hear me okay? So for those of you who do not know, my name is Melissa Gagne. I'm the Human Resources Manager for the district. And
I'm Fern Seiden, this district system of care and learning supports coordinator.
It's still a little bit quiet. You might want to
We have to speak up.
maybe get a little closer.
okay, thank you. And tonight we are here to share with you some updates from Socalz, the System of Care and Learning Supports, and some partnerships with Human Resources.
So we're going to just start. I'm going to give an overview of where we've come with system of care this year so far and the work that has happened out of that office. First of all, I just want to, I love this image because really system of care has been started like 6 years ago, and the seeds are kind of spreading, and there's this diffusion of the principles and ideas that inform system of care work. And so you're seeing it kind of diffuse throughout. I've heard, for instance, I love hearing from teachers and wanting to talk to me about their IPDP projects and their SLPs and CAG's capstone projects, all with SEL focus and that kind of attention. There have been lots of other meetings where you can really hear the trauma-informed work coming through and how we understand what students are going through. And so there's also just endless creative ways that we are giving, and preparing students as we go through this pandemic, and just teaching SEL in general. One of the things that has been wonderful to hear about are the planning for March 15th and preparing students for the changes that are happening. That is occurring right now, and teachers, the staff at the different schools are working very hard to do this in a very careful and planful way. One of the big updates is that we wrote a grant, and it's called the Promising Futures Grant. This has brought $115,000 worth of special allocated monies toward the district for universal supports within that multi-tiered system of support, and as well as a kind of sharp focus on looking at what it would mean to sort of really adopt an MTSSB, or multi-tiered system of support approach to our district. We have a lot of great things coming to our district, restorative practices, different programs at each level. At the high school, that should say middle school in the middle, and JMUs. So we're really excited about that. There will be a lot of district and community trainings upcoming. Lynn Lyons will be coming in March, just to put that out there for staff as well as families. So be on the lookout for that. Another important thing that we have accomplished, and this took a lot, was having a team work together to provide suicide prevention training throughout the district. We have just completed that last Friday. We used the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention, and we have a caregiver family training coming up this week at 6 o'clock on the 18th. And that link is on the district website. And this is, of course, extremely important work and, you know, of a really important focus for our system of care. A really important part of system of care is looking inward at developing strong partnerships like we're working on right now with HR. With the REAL program, I've been working very closely with Bill Morris. But also looking out externally to the community and finding ways to connect with resources that we can bring to bear in district. And so this is just a list of a lot of the different groups of people that we have been and that I've been working with very closely to bring resources into the district. So these are some great partnerships and accessing resources. So one of the most important things I think about system of care that we've worked really hard on is kind of developing good communication and teaming, more teaming across the district, because we really believe that breaking down the silos of separate schools functioning as separate entities and bringing us all together as a district, sharing our ideas, our resources, has been really essential. So we have been doing a lot more teaming together as the sort of helpers or student assistant teams, school counselors, behavior specialists, homeschool liaisons. We've been meeting a lot and sharing ideas and talking a lot about the kind of programs and interventions that we provide. And we've done some workshops for families and caregivers after school. And so there have been a lot of also groups of teachers meeting to reflect on our work together. There's just a lot that we've been doing a lot more to focus on communication and our team building. We've also started a newsletter that we're sending out, and we're working to expand a website, and both of those links are up there if you're interested in looking at those. The Socalz Committee, we have been, there's a lot of work on transitions and just helping students adjust to the various changes that they are experiencing this year. We're trying to take a close look at some data and providing educator and family supports that we're going to talk about momentarily, and really making sure that we expand those SEL competencies and really address those from K-12. And so one last piece of this has been that we decided early on, well, more like around December, that maybe the focus should be, given this year, just really seeing if we could dig in and try to find ways to continue our support of family and employees as work groups this year, given the circumstances. These are the members of our teams. So you can see they come from around the district and from different professionals who have come together to talk about these things. We're excited to have two really excellent parent representatives on our family caregiver support team. And we're going to be and it's really exciting to be teaming with Bill Morris and with Melissa from HR on the district employee support group. We're still working on this. This is something that's very much in progress, trying to get feedback and provide workshops. We've just done a lot of things trying to think about our families in district and all their needs and how we can support them. We are currently coming up with some ideas. Last year in March, we had to cancel a very large event that we had planned as part of Socalz, and that had taken a lot of work, and then we had to suddenly cancel it. So we're now in trying to see the horizon here and say, could we do something this year potentially to bring us all together, because I think that would be a wonderful thing. We all feel that that would be a wonderful thing for our community.
which then brings us to the district employee support team. And the first question we really asked ourselves is, why create this group? And we talk a lot about Socalz System of Care and Learning Supports, and that is geared towards student well-being. Well, to give well-being and to be well, we must take care of ourselves to take care of others. So there is that connection between staff and student well-being and social emotional learning, or SEL. So staff social emotional learning is a big component of the system of care work that's been done for many years and all year long. So the charge that we are focused on, and this is the framework, this is the very beginning of years to come resources that we can provide to employees. We want to find ways that add to the plate, don't add to the plate, rather help manage what's on it. So time-consuming resources is not what we're looking for. We're looking for ways to bring awareness and resources to staff without adding to their time. And an example of this is there are wellness committees at the different schools, and sometimes it's just about communicating with other buildings and bringing that district-wide. So what have we done so far? Like I said, this is relatively new, and this is the very beginning of what's to come. Socalz did introduce the support teams back in the February newsletter. We announced the partnership between Socalz and Human Resources. We have created, this is a snapshot of our intranet, which is the internal website for employees, it's on the teacher toolbox. So all employees can find the links to the Employee Assistance Program and many other resources. There will be minutes from our meetings when we do meet on that page as well. And we've been meeting collectively since December regularly to brainstorm ways that we can bring resources together to employees. Some of our goals, we want to partner. We want to partner with the other schools, with the other committees. We want to bring awareness to the things that we are doing. And we also want to ask for feedback of things that we can do, what staff are looking for. Again, we want to share. We want to support employee mental health. There are many needs, personal and professional life, where we can support employee well-being. We want to respond. We want to listen. We want to provide resources and support our community and our employees. We also want to bring awareness by emails, by having resources readily available to staff. And Lynn Lyons coming out and providing resources for our staff is just the tip of the iceberg of many things to come. Some of the examples, this is a very quick snapshot of our Employee Assistance Program, which is free, confidential, available to any employee or member of their household. And there are many resources that some may not even know about. Life coaching, 6 free counseling sessions per episode, no limit on how many times an employee could use that resource or their household members. And some things it's just about word of mouth, getting that out there to employees to let them know what's available to them. This kindness calendar is an example of what one of the wellness committees at one of the schools did throughout the building. And that doesn't take much time out of someone's day just to give a compliment, and it really boosts morale. So we want to share things like that that are done at the school level that could help district-wide. So before we go to questions, I'm going to turn back to Fern to just give a closing message.
The support of district employees is essential work, and there is so much evidence demonstrating that even before the pandemic, teachers nationwide were really struggling to maintain work-life balance and to manage the stress associated with this profession. There's also ample evidence that student well-being is dependent on the well-being of the adults who teach and care for them. So when the Socalz team met in December, or late fall, early December, we recognized the need to have a work group with employee wellness as its focus. And we knew that every school would be working to support employee wellness, but we felt it was important to pull together as a team to think about it from a system of care perspective. And that's when we decided to join forces and to pull together also members from the SEL task force this summer. As I was thinking about preparing and talking about this tonight, I, realized that, we were talking about how it is a little like digging a hole in the sand this year because, there's just so much that's out of our control with the conditions that we are under. And yet we have to do that work together. So we're sticking with it and trusting that sharing ideas and resources will really make a difference over time. And I just want to stay with that beach metaphor a little longer and move a little closer to the shore as we share one more observation. Imagine standing in the sand at the edge of the water, and as you stand, of course, the water pulls the sand out from under your feet. As the water rises, your feet get increasingly buried and your posture more unsteady. It is harder and harder to stay balanced. The tide has a greater effect on you the more out of balance you become. The pandemic has the power to pull us under in this way. It is cumulative, and its impact can increase in exponential ways the more fatigued and stressed you become. Sometimes the only way to get on firm ground is with help and support. We acknowledge that this work has been really, really hard, and that many among us are struggling in a lot of different ways. We hope to sustain a system of care that provides a safe opportunity to talk about our mental health and well-being and to really listen in supportive ways. It has been really humbling for us to witness the efforts of district educators and employees this year. We recognize how hard everyone is working to meet the needs of students and families while balancing their own well-being and personal lives. And we have noticed that when it comes to what educators are stressed about, the devil is in the details. How will I pay attention to all my students if I can't see them on one screen? How can I prepare kids for the changes in their schedules? What strategies will I employ to reconstitute my classroom into one cohort? What do I say to a student who is afraid of becoming ill or worse? The concerns and worries of educators are profound and seemingly endless. The professionalism, compassion, and dedication they display are also. As a Socalz Committee and administration and HR department, we wanted to acknowledge all of our district employees this year and just to recognize that all the relationships we are forging as we go through this are really fundamentally important to this system of care.
Questions?
Questions from the board. Shannon?
I have a couple, and actually I put a note down as you were starting to present about the EAP program, and big check mark off because you have it part of your plan, which is awesome. Because I did get a presentation when I was on healthcare cost containment a couple of years ago, and it really is quite good. I mean, it's a very good program.
Excellent.
Working in private sector, it keeps up, probably exceeds what you get in the private sector even. So it's a very good
Absolutely.
program. The other thing I was going to ask was about Socalz. I know you're working with HR, and I think that's a great extension. But what about other committees that kind of, again, evolve and intersect your efforts there, such as healthcare cost containment and the wellness committees? So is that something that, I know that you're getting started with this kind of, evolution, but is that something you see a lot of cross collaboration with those entities?
Absolutely. So I think it's helpful where we are each on individual committees that coexist, right? But they're so related. So healthcare cost containment, individual wellness committees. I bring back to healthcare cost containment things that we're talking about on the employee support team. And Fern is doing the same with Socalz and the other groups that she's a part of. So there is, in some cases, overlap, but just that collaboration of working together and not duplicating efforts, but bringing efforts together. So absolutely.
Thank you. And then one other question I have was, you mentioned webinar that is this Wednesday at 6 p.m.
Yes.
For families. And will that be available recorded afterward? Because I do know for seniors, it is scholarship night, and I'm sure there might be a couple other things in the district. But that's, money talks. So.
Yes, no, it should be recorded.
Great.
Yes. We're trying to record all the offerings, like Lynn Lyons will also be recorded, and other events that we're also going to be sharing with the district as well.
Excellent. Is there a central area on the webpage where all those different seminars can be found?
I am giving them to to our district calendar. So that should be found on our district calendar right now, as well as, the upcoming ones as they come in, and as they get organized, we're definitely putting them right onto the district website
Excellent.
with the links and everything.
So the recordings can all be found in kind of the same areas, so that way they can see the series if they didn't know they missed one, that kind of thing?
We can, yeah.
Yes, we'll figure that out. Yeah,
Okay,
we're
good.
definitely trying to find a location for all of the film, like the webinars that are being recorded, even in District 2, to find a place to house those, yeah,
Appreciate it.
absolutely.
Great, those are my questions. Thank you.
I'm just going to say thank you. I think this is essential work, and I like the depth of the work that you're doing. Once there was a book, it was called, is your microphone? Feed Your Teachers, or They'll Eat Your Students, or something. And it was about really the importance of really good mental health for teachers. So thank you.
Yeah. One of the important features of SEL, we focus so much on student SEL, but if you look at CASEL, the Collaborative for Academic and Social Emotional Learning, one of the actual pillars of SEL is teacher SEL. You can't do one without the other. So, and that makes total sense, but it's just this one of the parts of this pandemic is it's really pulling out the essential, components of things and making it really stand out how important it is not to lose sight of that. So it's really important.
Board Member Schneider and Board Member Hardy, do you have any questions or comments?
I do not at this time, other than to say thank you. I think this is all really fabulous work.
Yeah, I was going to chime in the same way. I don't have any specific questions, but it's really good to hear this information and to see the progress we're making. So I'm happy. So
Great.
And I would say the work that you all do continues to make us proud. I appreciate the holistic approach of looking at our entire community and how we can best support them, particularly during these difficult times. Socalz has certainly gotten a lot of visibility for the district throughout the state. There's a lot to be proud of in the work, the hard work that's been ongoing for many years to bring us to the point that we're at right now. So it's really a delight, and it's really makes me very happy to see the ongoing work that you're doing, as well as seeing how the work is evolving and constantly evolving into being able to support our community, our families and our children, as well as our staff in the best way that we can. So thank you for coming tonight. Please drive carefully.
Thank you for having us.
Okay, next item on the agenda is the reconsideration of deliberative session date. So recently, at I believe it was our last school board meeting, or 2 ago actually, we had, maybe it was the last one, 2 weeks ago, I think it was, we had the moderator, Lynn Christensen, and we discussed the potential of having the school district deliberative session on March 9th with a snow date of March 11th. There's been some additional discovery around that, and Matt, if you don't mind, if I'm not putting you on the spot, if you could share some of the information that you've brought to our attention as it relates to that date and how we may want to consider moving it, and actually, regardless, we have to vote on it. We have to vote on the date that we're going to have it.
Yeah,
But But before we've made it official, we wanted to discuss the consideration of moving that school district deliberative session to March 2 with a snow date of March 4. So I'll turn it over to you, Matt,
Okay.
for just a little additional background.
Thank you. During the discussion that you were having with Lynn Christensen, I was actually looking at the RSA, and it's a SB2 Townsend School Annual Meeting Guide for an April vote, and it's published on the Department of Revenue website. And it says clearly that the parameters for the deliberative session are between the first and second Saturdays following the last Monday in February, inclusive of those Saturdays. Let me make that simpler for you. It's between February 27th through March 6th. While we do have the option to push it out to the 9th, it is something that is counter to what the RSA states that we have to do. So regardless of how you vote, I want to just make you aware of that fact. And you're placing your trust in Executive Order number 38 that allows that to be pushed out. My one concern is with the recent tone and tenor of the public, I don't want to color outside the lines on this. I would rather stay true to the RSAs and make it, as you mentioned, March 2nd, which would put us well within that March 6th deadline. In addition, to have them back to back, Lynn mentioned that it would be a benefit to leave the setup there for the entire day. And I think we were utilizing the Smith Gym in some capacity also, just in case there was overflow to do, spacing for COVID reasons or something like that. And by leaving it set up during the day and talking with Marcia McGill, both those spaces are used during the day. The APR is used to serve lunch. While they don't spread out the cafeteria tables, they do have a lunch line. So all that tables and chairs would have to be pushed back to the middle of the floor. And then with the Smith Gym, we would more than likely take all those chairs away and allow the students there who are basically in their classrooms all day long, with the exception of going to the bathroom or going to get their lunch. That would limit their ability to get out and kind of move around a little bit in a socially distanced fashion. So that's the other considerations I bring to you tonight as you kind of deliberate this. You are well within your rights to go with March 9th, but if you want to strictly adhere to the RSAs, which are here, it would be the last day would be March 6th. So having said that, the March 2nd date seems like a logical choice. Last year was March 3rd. And you have to understand one thing. The town operates off of a town charter. And in that town charter, they position their deliberative session to always fall the week after our deliberative session to avoid any conflicts. I believe that was done maybe 10, 15 years ago. Some of the councilors would remember when the town charter form of government was voted in, but it was something that they did purposely to avoid any conflicts during that 1 week where we were both vying for space. So that's kind of the background of it. The RSAs state 27th through the 6th. You do have the option of delaying, but there are consequences to that. So.
Okay. Are there any particular questions or comments? I would fully support moving it back to the 2nd, with the 4th being the snow date, but I wondered if anyone had any. Shannon?
Yeah, and Matt, I just wanted to say I appreciate you trying to allude to the moderator that it was in our best interest to have these dates, and unfortunately, I don't think that was picked up on strongly enough. And I think the other thing that we probably learned from this exercise is that we need to, and I don't think we did anything wrong, I think we're just trying to be good neighbors and courteous, but we, I think, need to strongly communicate that we're in charge of our facilities and how we run them, and not be told what we should do to manage our schools when deliberative sessions are not in session by those who don't run the schools. So with that, I think, we can, it's one of those, we are the host and they are our guests, so that they don't run the party, I guess, what you would say. So with that, I think, assertive. I think we need to be a little more assertive and, in our expectations. But also, we have traditionally, and we'll know expect no less that we will continue to be good hosts. So with that, I am also of the mindset that I would rather work within stated RSAs because there's no reason not to. And because we would be tearing down the facilities anyway because we're running a school on those off days. So that's my 2 cents on it.
Any other questions or comments? Board Member Rothaus?
So, I agree. I think we need to move it. I think that's, but I think, you know, I don't think anyone, is trying not to be a good neighbor. And I think that, I just, you know, want to say that.
Board Member Hardy and Schneider, any comments or questions?
So
Not at this
I have
time.
I actually do. So maybe I didn't hear it, but when I had put this date originally in my calendar, for some reason I had Wednesday the 3rd. Why is it on the 2nd?
You can make it Wednesday the 3rd if you prefer.
Well, I just, it was a date that was, go ahead.
Last year, it was Tuesday the 3rd. And we have had a history of picking the Monday after the school board meeting to have a deliberative session. So it doesn't
Tuesday.
really matter as far as the date goes, as long as you give yourself enough time that's not on Friday to have a snow day.
Well, the only, you made a comment saying to leave things set up 2 days in a row. What's the reason for that?
That's because we use those spaces during the day to both serve lunch and to have physical education in the I'm sorry. It's because we use those spaces to serve lunch and.
No. I understand. It made it sound as though you wanted to leave the setup in place
No,
for 2 days in a row for a separate meeting. That's what I thought I heard you say.
no, that's not what I meant at all. I'm sorry, Andy.
No, the moderator
Right.
stated that she wanted it kept set up.
Yeah,
And I
it would
think that was
it would
not-
save time, but the problem is saving time takes those spaces away from student use.
And what date is the town deliberative session currently stated for?
I think it's the
Does it have a
10th.
date?
The 10th.
So they're
Wednesday.
set up for Wednesday the 10th. That's, I guess what I left was is that usually you have the deliberative sessions on sort of the same days of the week, a week apart, and that's why Tuesday the 2nd, I was scratching my head a little bit. I can go either way. I just want us to be consistent with the voters so they understand which day of the week is coming and that we're just clear on when they should show up.
Board Member Hardy?
I don't have any questions at this time.
Okay. I would say I personally like the Tuesday to be able to have a snow day on Thursday because it allows like 2 days difference in case, so they're not back to back, and then also would avoid having a deliberative session on a Friday night, which makes it difficult for the public to attend when they have weekend plans. So I would be in favor of willing to accept a motion to make the deliberative session on the 2nd with the snow date on the 4th.
So moved.
Thank you. Do I have a second? Board Member Rothaus? We need to do roll call vote. So Vice Chair Barnes, how do you vote?
In favor?
Board Member Rothaus?
In favor?
Board Member Schneider?
In favor?
Board Member Hardy?
In favor.
And I vote in favor. So the motion carries 5-0-0.
So deliberative session on the 2nd, snow day on the 4th.
Yes.
Okay.
And then I can reach out to Pat Heinrich and confirm that. She had asked me about that today.
Yeah.
She had heard that there was potentially a reconsideration.
Yeah, and we haven't published anything official.
We can now,
We can now.
and we will on all
Yes.
our media.
Correct.
Right. So we did have nothing, I mean, there wasn't anything in stone. Now we're just
No.
formalizing the date.
Yeah, usually when I do the warrant articles, I do the preamble, which has all the dates on it and the meeting locations and everything like that. And purposely, at least this year, I didn't do that until this was decided, so. It's never been out there yet, but it will be tomorrow.
Okay, excellent. Thank you, and thanks
Yep.
for the information and good catch. The next one is the warrant presentations for the deliberative session. As we prepare for the deliberative session, and we prepare to present the warrants to the public, as we do every year, we usually, in a meeting prior to the deliberative session, just outline who will move each of the warrant articles on our board, and then who will second it. So I wanted to propose what I think might make sense, and y'all can let me know if that works. So warrant number 2, which is the gifts and property article, is I would suggest that I move that, and then Lori second it. The MESA contract, because Shannon and Jenna worked on that together, I would recommend that Shannon move that and Jenna second it. And then Article 4, which is the MESA contract trailer, essentially if it's defeated, that it authorizes the school board to call one special meeting. I would recommend that Jenna move that and Shannon second it. And then as it relates to ventilation, that Andy move that and I second it. Does that work for everyone? Any concerns? Vice Chair Barnes?
Only, not that, I think the who moves and who seconds is fine, but in our packets, it was attached to the actual warrant articles. And a couple of things I noticed. And one is that we voted on the budget and it's not in the attachment, what our vote was, which was 500 to recommend.
Well, that's something that
Is that because we remunerated it?
That's something you need to do tonight, because the Budget Committee changed what you had presented as the budget.
Oh,
They removed $5,000 from the operating budget that was specific to the utilities of Brentwood. So on my copy here, it says, 81,870,163. The budget that you presented to the Budget Committee was 81,875,163. So it's a different number. So I would need a reconsideration of your vote on that.
Okay, I had that question as well.
and then the other question I had is, it's not on our agenda that we're re-voting on anything. Can we,
So
it can be considered part of the reconsideration of, or warrant presentations?
I don't believe it needs a separate agenda item for that purpose.
Okay,
No.
good, okay, good.
Okay. So why don't we go ahead and do that? Well, first of all, before we do that, any concerns, any other questions on the presentations?
No, not for
No?
me.
Okay. Then we'll just move to that item. So as explained, the budget was reduced by $5,000 to reduce the utilities for Brentwood. And so I'll go ahead and take a vote on the,
Can we actually get some understanding of what that means first before I
Okay.
take a vote on it?
sure.
So I do have a question on that, Matt, and I believe the line item was left to $5,000, is that correct? And did they reduce?
No, it has, they removed $5,000
Right, so what was
from
the,
it.
what was the line item, because we reduced it as well at one point, so what was the line item before they touched it?
Well, before we touched it, it was $23,000, then it was like $12,003 went from it, so it was around $10,000.
So there's still money in that line
Yeah,
item, so if it
there's
over,
still
that's fine.
money,
That's, I
yes.
just want to make sure it wasn't zeroed out, because I wasn't sure.
It is not zeroed out.
Okay, before I voted, I want to make sure that, obviously, that creates a whole different ball of wax.
Fair enough.
Thank you.
Any other questions? So I would like to entertain a motion to approve the budget, which is now reduced to $81,870,163. And then the default budget shall be
$81 million. Sorry.
$81,918,937.
So moved.
Okay, and a second? Made by Board Member Rothaus. Vice Chair Barnes, how do you vote?
In favor.
Board Member Rothaus? Board Member Schneider?
In favor?
And Board Member Hardy?
In favor.
And I vote in favor, so it carries 500.
Thank you.
And do we have to vote on number 6, because that was a petition warrant article?
Do we vote on number 6?
You don't have to.
I didn't think we did on
Petition
petition.
warrant articles that have a money value are special warrant articles. This has no money associated with it, so you or the budget committee does not have to take a vote on that.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. So we will move on to more of the housekeeping portion of the meeting. I'll start with the January 19th, 2021 minutes. Do I have a motion? Made by Board Member Rothaus, seconded by Vice Chair Barnes. Any changes or updates to those minutes? Hearing none. Vice Chair Barnes, how do you vote?
In favor.
Board Member Rothaus?
In favor.
Board Member Schneider?
In favor?
Board Member Hardy?
In favor.
And I vote in favor. The January 19th minutes approval carries 500. The next item, I'll entertain a motion for the January 25th, 2021 minutes made by Board Member Rothaus, seconded by Vice Chair Barnes. Any comments or updates to those minutes? Nope. Vice Chair Barnes, how do you vote?
In favor.
Board Member Rothaus?
In favor.
Board Member Schneider?
In favor?
And Board Member Hardy?
In favor.
And I vote in favor. The January 25th, 2021 minutes are approved, 500. Lastly, the February 1st, 2021 minutes. Do I have a motion? Made by Vice Chair Barnes, second by Board Member Rothaus. Any comments or updates to those minutes? I actually have one. On page 10 of 17, there is line 471. It said Chair Guagliumi also wanted the board to come up with a parent attestation in an effort to help maintain the safety of the students and the staff. It's Chair Guagliumi recommended that administration come up with a parent attestation in an effort to help maintain the safety and the students of the staff, not that the board would actually create that. Any other updates? Okay. Vice Chair Barnes, how do you vote?
In favor.
Board Member Rothaus?
In favor.
Board Member Schneider?
In favor?
Board Member Hardy?
In favor.
And I vote in favor. That carries 500. Okay. Moving on to the next item, the consent agenda with John Fabrizio.
Thank you. Tonight we have one educator nomination. That is Cheryl Burke, special education teacher, Merrimack High School. And then we have the approval of policy, suicide prevention and response policy. Policy JLDBB. Thank you.
Do I have a motion? Vice Chair Barnes?
I move we accept the consent agenda as presented.
And a seconded by Board Member Rothaus. Vice Chair Barnes, how do you vote?
In favor.
Board Member Rothaus?
In favor.
Board Member Schneider?
In favor?
Board Member Hardy?
In favor.
And I vote in favor. The motion carries 500. Item number 9 is other. And it looks like usually it's just the correspondence and comments are under that. So we'll just address 9 and 10 together. So any correspondence received by the board, I can first document that we've received a number of items of correspondence on topics such as concern for returning to school, concern for not returning quickly enough in K through 4, requests for fields by MYA, and we also had a request for a public hearing. Anything that I've missed or any additional public comments that any of you have?
I received an email from a constituent with questions about previous budget spends by the district.
Anything else? No?
Yes, I have had 2 conversations with constituents who are interested in possibly running for open school district office positions.
Okay.
Just looking for general information.
Okay. Any comments? Seeing none? New business? None? I just had one item that I wanted to ask about, which is it relates to the before and after care of K through 4 at all of our schools and the Adult Learning Center. And I just wanted to ask administration if they would look to consider if that's feasible under the circumstances. I understand the Adult Learning Center has a number of protocols that they're using in schools where they are working, such as Londonderry, I believe Hollis Brookline. And I just wondered if administration would connect with the Adult Learning Center to see if it's possible that we might be able to provide before and after care for those families. Thank you. Any other new business? Committee reports, item number 12. Any committee reports to share?
I could defer.
Linda, I have
but-
one.
Oh, sorry. I'll defer to them first.
Okay. Board Member Hardy?
Oh, okay. So the Healthcare Cost Containment Committee met last week, and really the focus of the conversation was determining the best way to finalizing really the way they're going to use the wellness funds from the health trust, which is, talking about gift certificates for, staff and in the district, focusing on mental health during this insane year. And it dovetails really nicely, honestly, with the initiatives that Fern Seiden and Melissa Gagne spoke about earlier. So that's something that will be rolling out throughout the rest of this school year.
Thank you.
Cinda, I have one. So 2 weeks, the day after our last school board meeting, we had a budget committee meeting where they had a work session where the discussion took place, as Matt summarized, with the reduction of $5,000 off of the spend for Brentwood. That was the only proposed cut that they made. There were no other proposals that went in front of it. Matt and I also presented the warrant articles, including details on the ventilation that we'll certainly try to replicate when we do the deliberative session. That got a lot of good traction and some good questions, but overall full support of the budget committee as well. And I know, Jenna, you attended the public hearing for me the week after, so I don't know if you want to just summarize what happened there, the budget committee.
Yeah, actually, it was very straightforward. It really, the budget committee just, there was no public participation. Nobody came to say anything about the budget. They voted to move forward as it was, and with the decisions that were made the previous week, and it was very quick.
Okay, any other committee reports? Vice Chair Barnes?
I did miss professional development, but John, if you were there, I don't know if there's anything you can summarize, but I know I did get to review the agenda.
Note that we went through and we are at a point right now where I think that we talked about some updates with technology that are going on in the district with our Canvas pages that have been fully launched. And we talked about the professional development that we've been doing over the last 2 Fridays when it comes to concurrent learning. And we've had a couple of professional organizations such as Demonstrated Success come in and offer webinars to our teachers. And then we talked about kind of upcoming at our April meeting to look at utilizing some of our unused workshop funds to fund more of the graduate classes. And we're going to wait to April, which is our typical time of year that we, by our bylaws, allow us to vote then. So that'll happen in April. Thank you.
Thank you, and I'm sorry I couldn't make it, but sounds like I had a very thorough agenda.
Thank you. Thanks for that update. Any other committee reports? Okay, moving to item 13, which is the public comments on agenda items. Vice Chair Barnes, do we have any? There's an empty room here, but do we have any?
No, I just did a refresh on my email, and I did not get anything in since our meeting started today.
Okay, great. So we'll go ahead and sign the manifest, and I'll entertain a motion to go into non-public per RSA 91-A:3, Roman numeral number 2, A, B, and C in the Matthew Thornton room.
So moved.
Seconded by, motion by Vice Chair Barnes, seconded by Board Member Rothaus. How do you vote?
In favor.
In favor.
Sorry, I'll just be official. Vice Chair Barnes, how do you vote?
In favor.
Board Member Rothaus, in favor. Board Member Schneider,
In favor?
Board Member Hardy,
In favor.
and I vote in favor. We are under an hour tonight, so miracles do happen. Thanks, everyone, and good night.